What this boy did to his sister in this room will shock you. African story. Ethan looked at Lily the same way men looked at women on TV. Lily, please, he said slowly. Let's do this thing again, the one that man and woman did in the video. I like that. It's so nice. Tears formed in Lily's eyes as she shook her head. No, Ethan, I don't want to do it again. It hurts too much. I never want to do it again in my life. You may wonder how these children got to this point. Why is Ethan asking Lily to do something so indescribable? How did they end up in this situation? And where are their parents in all this? Stay with me to discover the revolting story of Lily and Ethan. Ethan, 9 years old, and his 7-year-old sister Lily were often left alone at home. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, were very busy professionals. Ethan and Lily were used to being alone, although it was not something they liked. They tried to have fun with games of society or drawing, but television always seemed to attract them. One evening in particular, Ethan watched a late show, with bright lights, loud music, and adults laughing and talking in a way that seemed strange to him. The scenes were quickly showing off, full of excitement and intrigue. Curiously, he called Lily, who was in the other room. Lily, come here, look at this. The voice of the... They didn't understand what was being said, but it looked fun, so they kept watching. Why are they doing this? Asked Lily innocently, her forehead covered in confusion. She didn't understand the content, but felt that it was different from the shows they usually watched. I don't know, replied Ethan. It may be something that adults do. The scenes continued, leaving their young minds confused and curious. They didn't know it yet, but the images they were looking at were not meant for them. They were unconsciously going through a world that was much more complex than they could understand. The days went by after Ethan and Lily watched this strange show, but the images remained fresh in their memory. The curiosity that had settled in them grew, becoming something that they could no longer ignore. One afternoon, while their parents were at work, Ethan looked at Lily, her face lit with enthusiasm. Lily, do you remember that thing we saw on TV? He asked gently, a malicious flash in the eyes. Lily's face crisscrossed, while the disturbing images returned to her thoughts. I don't know, Brother Ethan. It didn't seem right to me, she replied, her hesitant voice. But Ethan had already made his decision. We'll try, he said she said slowly. But Ethan, unconscious of the consequences, insisted, Come on, Lily. It's just to pretend. Nobody will know. Lily hesitated, not knowing what to do. Ethan then added, Do you remember when you went out that day, even if Mom and Dad told us not to go? Nobody found out. But if you don't do that with me, I'll tell them to Dad. Lily panicked, not knowing how to react. Neither one nor the other really understood what they were about to do, but Ethan's words made her feel trapped. Finally, she gave up. She took a deep breath and shook her head. Okay, Ethan, let's do it. At that moment, the curiosity that had always pushed Ethan and Lily to explore together took a dark turn, far from the 12 adventures they shared before. As they entered the room and lay on the bed, Lily felt a sharp pain. She shouted and ran away into the living room. Ah, it's weird, Ethan, brother. I never want to do that again in my life. The pain was unbearable, much worse than anything she could imagine. On her side, Ethan did not understand Lily's distress and wanted to continue, unaware of the gravity of the situation. But Lily's heart beat like a shaman, filled with fear, and she felt at the deepest of herself that it was not normal. Nothing to do with the innocent adventures they had always lived. There was no more laughter or joy, only pain and a deep regret. Every day, Lily felt more and more ill. She saw the behavior of the Tans change, and it terrified her. He had become more stubborn, more insistent, and Lily realized that he was no longer the brother player she had known. The innocence that had once defined their bond seemed to have flown away. One afternoon, while their mother was going home to get her documents, Lily felt an irrepressible need to speak. She couldn't stand keeping silence anymore. "Mom, I can talk to you?" she asked with a trembling voice as she approached her mother. Mrs. Carter, submerged by the phone calls and her list of tasks, barely raised her eyes. "Not now, Lily. I'm in a hurry," she replied, juggling between two calls and looking at her watch. Lily remained motionless for a moment, her heart tight. Her mother sighed, visibly stressed. "Later, my dear. Be a good girl, okay?" She gave almost no attention to her daughter's worries before again going through the door.
Lily's little voice was lost in the midst of life, filled with her mother. She returned to her room, tears running down her cheeks, the heart in a mess, feeling invisible in a house that was supposed to be a shelter. All she wanted was for her mother to listen to her, for her to understand the gravity of her distress. One afternoon, after a new attempt by Etten to ask Lily to play a scene from the show they had seen, Lily could no longer stand it. She left the house, her frail body trembling with fear and confusion. Not knowing where to go, she found herself at the door of their nice neighbor, Tante Grosse. "What's going on, Lily?" asked Tante Grosse, kneeling to get up to her height. Lily could not hold back any longer. Tears were invading her, and she began to cry with tears in her eyes, telling everything. The request was stung, the fear growing in her and her discomfort. Tante Grosse surrounded Lily with her arms in a reassuring silence. "You did the right thing telling me," she said slowly, her voice full of warmth. "You didn't bring that burden alone. I'm here, and we're going to find a solution." Lily hung on to Tante Grosse, finally feeling a relief. The weight that was pressing her seemed to be a little less. "I'm scared," said Lily. "What should I do, Tante?" Tante Grace smiled with a kind smile and wiped her tears. "Don't worry, my dear. I'll help you. You're safe now." When the parents learned what had happened, their first reaction was to take the defensive. Etten would never do such a thing, Mr. Carter said with a firm, unwavering voice. Maybe they misunderstood what they saw. Mrs. Carter, on her side, tried to minimize the gravity of the situation, but so much grace remained unwavering. "The children see what they see, and they draw enough elements to make their own ideas," she said. "You were so absorbed by your work that you did not pay attention to what they were looking at. This is a warning." Mr. and Mrs. Carter remained silent, realizing that unintentionally they had left their children vulnerable to dangers that they had never imagined. Admitting this was not easy for them, but they understood that they had to change. Mr. Carter immediately took measures to remedy the situation. He decided to closely monitor the programs watched by his children, watching what they only watch on shows suitable for their age, and that they engage in appropriate activities. He also encouraged them to talk about everything they saw on television in order to help them understand their thoughts and emotions. In addition to these changes, Mr. Carter organized sessions with a consultant for Etten and Lily. Parents knew that their children needed help to understand their emotions in order to heal from their experiences. The family made a conscious effort to spend more quality moments together. In the evening, Mrs. Carter read stories to Ethan and Lily before they fell asleep, while Mr. Carter was having fun with them with funny games. Little by little, the two children found a smile and learned to tie their brotherly bond through positive and healthy activities. It was a journey, but the Carters were committed to raising their children in a safe and well-kept environment with appropriate content. The months passed, and the Carters became a more attentive and present family. Mrs. Carter decided to reduce her hours of work to give his family a chance. Mr. Carter, as for him, now dedicated his weekends to Ethan and Lily. Thanks to this new attention and to this love, the children were full of joy. Ethan and Lily felt more confident knowing that they could turn to their parents to tell them about everything that was going on in their heads. The painful silence that once reigned in the house was replaced by laughter, tenderness, and the warmth of a family that was finally learning to be truly united. One evening, while they were all gathered around a social game, Lily turned to her parents, looking pensive. "Thank you for listening to me now," she said gently. These words, simple but profound, shed tears in the eyes of Mrs. Carter. At that moment, the family understood to what extent their relationship was essential. The most beautiful gift they could offer each other was their attention, their love, and their presence in the lives of one another. For the Carters, it was a new start, based on stronger bonds and a deeper understanding of what really matters. It is the end of our history. It teaches us that the greatest gift we can offer our children is our attention and our love. Children must feel that their words are heard and understood, especially when they try to express something important. The change begins with listening to their voices. Thank you for reading this story. If it touched you, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for other inspiring stories. Also share your opinion in the comments.